English talking persons joining us later on. Can you hear me? Is it okay, the voice?
Yes, we can.
It is.
You.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So my name is Noranta, and I work for Finnish Red Cross as a volunteer training coordinator. So my responsibilities here are to develop and coordinate volunteer training structures and guidelines, including our training of trainers system. To start, in Finnish Red Cross, we are just taking actually our first steps to recognize skills and competencies, and especially with these badges as a tool to do this. In this presentation, I will concentrate on competence acknowledgement among our volunteers, since that is the core task for me in this organization. As you already might maybe know, Finnish Red Cross is one of the 192 Red Cross national societies all over the world. In Finnish Red Cross, we have about 40,000 volunteers altogether, and we organize yearly about 5,000 training events, which are carried out by our own volunteer trainers. These trainers, they are about 400 active at the moment. So the volunteers, they are kind of backbone for all our activities in Finnish Red Cross. Our responsibility as staff members is to offer meaningful tasks for them. Of course, we hope that the volunteers, they commit to these activities. We hope them to have a chance to develop in these activities, and of course we hope that they draw new volunteers to step on board. I think that the Open Badge portal combines these ideas quite well to find meaningful volunteering actions, give possibilities to self-development, experiences of success, maybe a sense of community in Red Cross family. Badges and other ways of recognizing skills and competencies, they motivate our volunteers. So we hope for longer term work with us. My presentation here, it consists on 7 slides during the next hour, or maybe a little bit less. I start with the general overview of our training system and our training development processes, just to shortly describe the context where we are and how the badges actually are part of these processes. Then I have some kind of roadmap to show to you what we have done and what plans we have for the future, why we think about seriously to go on with these badges. Then some examples from our testing and piloting processes, maybe. And finally, some questions that are to be solved in the near future. Maybe even some good tips or advice from you then. So, okay, this is the Finnish Red Cross training system for volunteers. As I told you, we have a large-scale development process ongoing at the moment. And actually, we don't even have a comprehensive map or kind of overall description about our training system. But by this picture, you can get some idea what is going on in our organization. These circles, especially 2 first of them, they are based on the findings from our surveys among our volunteers during 2016 and 17, where the most crucial skills for all all our volunteers seem to be, of course, the knowledge of Red Cross as an organization, interaction and communication skills, skills for group leading and organizing group work. These are described with two first, the red and the blue circles. The green circle here, it illustrates our actual volunteering fields. As you can see from the blue cloud there, up there, the training fields in Finnish Red Cross, they are very logically the same that our fields of volunteering, for sure. There you can see our 9 fields for volunteering, starting from first aid. In these 9 volunteering fields, we have our volunteers with quite a huge amount of roles, tasks.
Oli ihan kokonaisuutena, niin kun kaikki muutkin näkee tuon luvun,
Anteeksi, nyt en kuullut kysymystä. Kuuluuko mun ääni edelleen?
Kuuluu edelleen, ei tainnut olla kysymystä, vaan taustahälyä.
Okei, no sitten joo. Olin tässä in these 9 volunteering fields, I was telling about those. We have quite a huge amount of profiles or tasks. How would I call them? Roles, profiles. But here we come to open badges, actually. In our working groups in headquarters, in Finnish Red Cross, working groups for badges. Since this, we have came to conclusion that our badges should base on these volunteering roles and competencies that are earned by acting in these roles or tasks. I counted that these roles that are included in volunteering areas, they are at least 50. So our very first idea was to create badges for each single course model, but that is just impossible since we have almost 200 course models at the moment. So that is why we decided at least to start with these role badges, which are about skills and competencies earned by acting as for example, as a contact person, support person, group leader, supervisor, or a volunteer trainer in some of these action fields. So all these 3 training areas or circles, they include training modules, which are new, came out from these surveys and participating workshops. They are new, they are recently modified, or they can even be old existing ones, but they are quite a many. Our pedagogical guideline at the moment, it is to try to design competence-based training modules, where the learning goals and the training methods, they should base on the requirements and complexity of the task. And here we come to the point that since we design this, or try to design this competence-based course models and criteria for these, actually the basis for badges are created at the same time. There's no extra work to do that. Usually we think that to become a competence in a volunteering role or task, you need some qualified training modules picked from here areas, but also they combined with relevant volunteering kind of practical tasks. I will give you some examples of this later on. And then we go further. Elements of training development. I already mentioned you can see the developing areas of our volunteer training system. The orange piece there with the red circle around, it is about competence development in general, and so it includes our open batch program too. The point is that these elements here, they are partly very strongly connected to each other. For example, we cannot identify or map all the crucial skills and competencies in our organization before we have done all the role descriptions of the key volunteers and competence descriptions, of course, too. We cannot plan training pathways for volunteering profiles or volunteers before we have decent curriculums for the modules. And these pathways, they are, of course, one crucial basis for batches. We cannot finalize the technical data management processes for batches without knowing what is going to be the master platform to do this. Actually, this decision is made yesterday by our leaders group, so we can start even to solve this challenge too. So the large target group, I mean these volunteers, and this complexity of development, it has caused that we are a bit late with the planned schedule right now. Competency development. This is a very rough draft of a timeline, what we have done and what we think that is going to happen, hopefully, in the near future. Actually, from the very beginning, the company Accenture in Finland, with the professional consultants, they have been a great support for us with the project planning and also later with the batch design services. But what is happening at the moment is that we started testing and piloting as we planned with one single batch, not four, like it says here. We started with one batch, which is open batch for a volunteer trainer. I will say a little bit more about this later on, but the other three we have actually decided to test or pilot our contact person for migrants, member of an alarm group, patrolling volunteers in festivals, these kind of volunteering tasks. But one challenge is this defining the key competencies. It's not only which skills or which competencies, how to build training modules and training paths based on these needed competencies and what kind of batches to have. It's also to prepare the internal organizational procedures for creating and issuing batches, reading the evidence, and so on.
Do you mind having a question related to this right now, or would you like to wait till the end? There's a question about, do you think that developing batches has helped your organization to develop your roles and processes also?
If the developing of badges have helped, could you repeat, please?
Do you think that when you have developed these badges, have they also helped you to develop your roles and processes in your organization at the same time?
Yes, I hope so that it will happen, because we are just on our first step, actually. We have only one concrete badge to test, but we have discussions, and we have primary plans how we might run the processes for issuing and creating. And I will, a little bit later, I will say something about the training planning in general in this context where we want to adopt this modern way of acknowledge and recognize skills and competencies.
Okay,
I will say something later on, yes. Well, in the beginning of next year, we have, with colleagues, we have some workshops where we talk about this, how to share our limited resources to continue with this system, and what are going to be the concrete next steps. We are going to have the web meetings with our district regional colleagues, and some discussions with them too. Then we have this great challenge of data management systems. We have a data management system for volunteers. It's called OMA, Punainen Risti in Finland. The idea is that in some day maybe during next year, we hope that our volunteers can get the badges in their own individual profile in that system. I'm not sure for that, but that's one idea that we hope that will go on. During this testing that we have now with the volunteer trainers badge, the only possibility to implement the badge is the open badge passport that is connected to this system. As I told you, we also are going to have a new training administration system and some web course platforms in near future. What is going to be the badge implementation there, I don't know yet. But at least the 4 first badges, I hope that they are tested and piloted during next year, 2020, and so that we can maybe say that we have kind of badge system or badge family to introduce in the end of 1920. We'll see. This last circle there, clear, flexible, high quality and consistent education system. It's one of our overall goals for the whole developing process. Defining competencies and badges, it's just one action, one important action to, of course, to achieve this target. Some ideas. Why badges? I think these are quite, maybe quite obvious for volunteers. Visibility and value. More and more we can hear that, for example, employers, they ask for skills that are actually earned by volunteering and NGOs. I think that our duty as managers or staff members in organizations is to kind of wrap these skills and competencies so that the volunteers can utilize them in their private lives. Badges are one very good way to do that. I think that also we can talk about career development, even in context of volunteering. Even though we don't have any step-by-step competency scale in Finnish Red Cross yet, I think we will consider it in the future, just to enable the feeling of individual development or progress for the volunteers in their tasks and volunteering pathways. What our organization gets from badges is that we get one very relevant and modern tool for rewarding the volunteers who give their time and skills to our organization. That is something that we really can do and we should do. Of course, we hope to engage them and keep them with us as long as possible. Badges can contribute that too. As a training officer, I think that the benefits that this could contribute for curriculum's planning. Badges, they kind of pushes us to plan these competence-based and high-quality trainings. That's how I actually see it. And from testing to final procedures. So here you can see our 3 first batches. We have several more to be launched later on, and these are all designed by Accenture Finland's graphic designer, or how do you call graphic designer. This trainer's batch, the first one, as I told you, it has been tested by few colleagues now. And I also I put it into our volunteer trainers website, extranet. Now I get about 5 applications every day, though it's kind of hidden there. There will be a short story column about badges in the next volunteers newsletter. So I expect the amount of these applications, it will increase, maybe dramatic in the future. But after getting the feedback from the first batch, then we decide how to continue with the processes. In the middle of the slide, you can see some badges that are also going to be useful for us. These are actually cities study center badges, kind of more about general competencies. And Red Cross is one of the member organizations or NGOs in cities, so we can utilize these badges in the future or even now if we want to. And I think that these are going to be quite useful in the future. Yes. But the big question still, it is for us that how we are going to design the whole badge family in our organization. Oh, if you are finished speaking, so you understand maybe a little bit more, but this is just a screenshot from our volunteer trainers badge application from the badge factory. I marked also shortly the criteria and evidence needed there in the left side. So, as an example, the whole training program for our volunteer trainers, it includes 2 weekends with pre-work at home. So this is face-to-face trainings, includes a few web courses and a final test, which is a kind of a training sample in a real training situation, training session. It's guided and supported by a, we call them master trainer. And it's also evaluated by the trainer candidate and the master trainer together. And so this includes both training modules, 3 of them, and then this action first actions as a trainer, or at least testing it, the competence. Well, yes, then some questions I picked from my own ideas and from my colleagues' ideas, how to convince all actors and stakeholders to jump aboard to this process. Even that we have kind of decided to go on with badges in a small group of colleagues, I think that we need much more engaged people to put hands on to this in our organization. This how to define and prioritize the final key competencies in our organization, since we operate in such a large scale. This is a real big problem. And since our resources are never going to be enough to badge everything, we really need to find a common understanding about what are really the key competencies that we want to recognize. And then this how to ensure the staff members' competence to run and manage the badge system. As I mentioned already, we have right now at the moment, we have the several data management systems like web course platforms, coming course administration systems. And my colleagues who are dealing with these, they are about the same persons who should become more familiar with the open badge systems. Now, I am actually the only one in our organization, and my expertise, it's not very deep. It's quite light since this. How to find relevant tools and methods for disseminating and marketing the system. Even though I have planned the workshops and columns in different websites, it's always a question, what is the best way to convince people? I myself believe it is maybe just to show good evidence, good results from testing and piloting. I don't know. The last question, how to find methods and resources to recognize and acknowledge volunteers' previous skills and competencies. Well, this is maybe more like a question of the future. How to map volunteers' previous or even existing skills and competencies when they join us and start volunteering in Red Cross. Well, these were actually my points. Half an hour spent with these 7 slides. I thank you for listening and attention, but if any of you listeners there should have some ideas, good advice or tips, I would be really pleased to hear those.
Okay, thank you, Sally. I will unmute everyone now so you can ask any questions you want to.
Well, if I can start, thank you very much, first of all, for this great presentation. And I think it was a very realistic and I would say a true one, so that you are speaking not only about results, but also about the process, and that it's not an easy process. I've seen that in many other, I would say, projects. But I have some clue for you, perhaps, for the final questions. I think that a good way to basically get your staff and your members involved in open badges, and also perhaps a way to ease as a process of developing badges, is to get your members involved in the process of designing badges. I don't know if you have been doing that, but it's a very good exercise. So if you have, let's say, a team of volunteers, one good way is to sit with them and to have a workshop on how to recognize and what kind of competencies they would like that would be recognized. And in some cases, this methodology has been used, for example, in US with City of Learnings, where, for example, young kids have been designing badges with instructors and teachers. And in one way, it's a way to get your target groups very much involved in badging, because they have been involved in the process. So I know that it's not always possible because of resources, but in my opinion, in many projects, I've seen that the organization itself is very much thinking that, okay, as an organization, we are doing all the work for designing badges, doing badges, issuing badges, and so on. And in many cases, you could open and get help also from your members and volunteers. I don't know what you think about this idea.
Thank you, Eric. Very good tips. And actually, I have a plan of course, I have a plan to hear our volunteers, but the first step will be during our annual further training for volunteer trainers that will be held in Tampere at the end of January. I'm going not only introduce to this system, but also ask them what kind of competencies they would like to have recognized from Finnish Red Cross. And also I have a plan to have some kind of questionnaire or survey for all, maybe not all, but to our key volunteers about these same questions. So to get data in real training situation, and then by this kind of survey or questionnaire. Mm-hmm. But also the working group would be, I had a working group with volunteers, and I hope that a few of them, they are young people studying and very busy and so on, but I think that a couple of them are still on board with this. So I will contact them and have a new start, hopefully, with this.
Yeah, I think there are two elements in this collaboration with the badge earners. There is two things. First of all, it's important to understand what are the badges which are important for them, because often in this process of developing badges, the organization is mapping the badges which are important for the organization. But these people are on the field, so they can see also that what kind of badges are important for them to be able to show their skills to, let's say, employers. Also, outside of the humanitarian sector,
Mm-hmm.
which has been a very important topic. For example, I know for International Red Cross, but Fred can correct me if I am wrong. But I've been working with the HPAS people, Humanitarian Leadership Academy, for example, and Médecins Sans Frontières, and all these kind of organizations. And they have said that in many cases, volunteers, even the staff, want to be recognized for, I would say, transversal skills and competencies.
Mm-hmm.
That can be recognized when they are leaving also the association, basically. And the other thing is also the fact that the people on the field, or let's say working actually now with some topics or in some contexts, are often experts on recognizing the skills and competencies.
Yeah.
And I would say it's a general, I would not say problem, it's a general, let's say, yeah, it could be an issue in the badging, I would say, culture nowadays, that we are thinking often more organization than badge earner. And but it's possible to balance basically this.
Yes, you are right. Actually, two of my colleagues, or actually they were consultants from Accenture, they interviewed our volunteers last summer. It was a youth camp in Satakunta area. And their ideas that we got from these young people, they were really useful and eyes-opening for us when we got the results, and it encourages us somehow to go on with this listening, of course, listening the earners, the volunteers.
Do you plan to have more badges with for the HR sector? I mean, for your staff?
Yes, sure. We have had some discussions with our HR department, and they are really interested in this. And I'm sure that it's going to be one step, maybe not next year, but maybe the year after next year, 2021, could be even possible. But it's up to our HR department. But what I know is that they are interested.
Yeah.
And I am interested because I'm part of staff.
Sorry that I have so many questions, but I want to ask you, do you use, what kind of issuing strategy do you have? Do you issue badges, let's say, by using email addresses after some completion of something, or do you use badge applications?
Applications are what we are talked since this, because there is of course, there are possibilities to give them kind of right away after training sessions or so on. But since we talk about this role-based, competence-based badges now, they are kind of volunteering tasks where actually it is important that somebody reads the evidence, and we have the applications, and it's about value of the badge, and it's also the brand and the image of our organization that we have to know that the volunteers that get the badges, that they really are worth the badge, and so it's not a game for us. It's a little bit, even a little bit a serious thing for us, I think.
Well, I think it's a very good approach for motivation, and the fact that people can provide evidence are evaluated, and then you get feedback, you get your badge. It's a very good process. It's a very good process, first of all, to make people understand what badges are, because they are basically doing the work to get one badge. It's not a free badge, an easy badge. It's something that you have to work for, and then you want it. So And basically, you can use this badge application for recognition of prior learning, for example, which is in the association context very important to make visible all kind of skills and competencies which are already in your basically volunteers in your organization, but are not visible. So I think that my experience is that in many projects where badge applications are used, there is a clear motivation, and people are actually using really the badges.
Yeah. So, but if there's some good experiences, it would be very nice to hear some good points or good experiences from listeners, how they have done with this and how they have the whole constellation and how they have how you have succeeded to create the system.
If you are interested to know more what's happening in the humanitarian sector, I have some connection I could give you. For example, there is, I think that Fred is from the International Red Cross.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Eric, and hi, Solé. We spoke some time ago. It's been ages, many years, but thank you so much for the presentation. It's great to hear all this. And yeah, I mean, Eric, as you say, I'm Solé. You may remember we were talking a few years back about the learning platform. And
Fred, you are Fred.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hi.
Exactly. Hi. So great to hear from you again. So we as Eric was saying, we're part of the committee, the steering committee of HPASS, of the Humanitarian Passport Initiative, which works with open badging. So we work with that group. And last year, the HPASS group did two things. They piloted their badges. And so the Mexican Red Cross almost got involved, didn't in the end, but were very keen. And then they also piloted their learning standards. And the psychosocial support center from the one of the reference centers in the Red Cross reconnaissance system engaged around that. From my perspective, so we sit on the steering committee and we of HPASS, and we thought recently, well, why don't we engage with it? And so and in fact, this was after a conversation with our colleagues at the ICRC, so Maya, who Eric talked about on this chat function. So Maya brought a group of colleagues from ICRC together and had HPASS come and talk to them about the badges. And I believe they have one group who are working on, I think it's prison visitors. And it's an interesting one. It's a very long, you have to have, I think, 4 or 5 years of experience before you get the badge. So it's quite an interesting sort of use of those badges. We on our side thought that we should, try and test these as well. And in fact, recently we sort of finalized a sort of pilot project that we call Learn to Change. And it's all about introducing concepts of organizational learning into our system, and looking to help bring about the change that our new strategy 2030 calls for. It calls for transformational change. So we ran this online learning journey, we call it, as a pilot, so that we could implement more next year. And we were helped by the Presencing Institute. This is an organization based in MIT in the US. And we had 300 or so people from 96 national societies around the world on the platform, on that learning journey, on that pilot learning journey. At the end of it, we thought we would issue some badges. So we developed with the help of HPASS, because we have no budget for this at the moment. We developed 3 badges. One was a member of the Learn to Change pilot program. One was for completers, so people who had taken, several of the courses, several of the online kind of courses, if you like, and then one was a champion. And champions were people who really engaged and pushed the concepts of learn to change further beyond our kind of borders, beyond the borders of, let's say, that group of 300. And the latter two, the completer and the champion, you have to apply to receive it. So you have to, I think to the discussion you were having with just now with Eric, you had to be able to show evidence that you had engaged in a specific way with that initiative. Whereas the member badge, we took a different route, and if they had completed something, I think it was the evaluation they had to complete, then they would automatically get a badge. And so it's, we're just sort of prototyping and testing a bit. But I guess we've issued probably something like 50 badges so far.
Okay.
And I think 50 badges between those 3 badge types, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So not 50 different types of badges, but 3 different types of badges and around 50 of them. And some people have put them on their LinkedIn profiles and push them out into social media. I mean, it's been quite interesting to observe that, but we are quite early in it. So we haven't had the chance necessarily to sort of analyze, to what extent this is sort of motivating people, or I mean, to Eric's question earlier, what kind of feedback, yeah. But I think it's, and we are also talking with our colleagues here in IFRC HR, so the HR learning team, who are also exploring open badging too. So we just thought we'd just give it a shot and prototype and just see what happens. But I think it's, we're kind of quite excited about it. I can share with you very quickly my screen if you wish.
Yeah.
So I can so I can show you very quickly what these badges look like.
Thank you. Because my question would have been that where can I get more information?
Right.
Can I get familiar with this? Because it sounds really interesting.
Yes. Well, I don't know whether I'm sharing now or not. It says I can't share.
Because
I'll stop this sharing.
But I will get it later when I close this.
Oh, fine.
This training, this session. Then if you post it me by email, I can get it,
sure.
and maybe contact you even later on, because.
But I can share. Oh, sorry.
You can share now.
Just very quickly. I mean, if you can see my screen, I think you can see my screen, and you can see the 3 badges there.
Okay.
You can't see them in great detail, but.
And did you say that one of these is to be with application, and the other ones are kind of automatic to the champion level, or what?
That's right. Yeah. So this member one on the left is is the one that people get automatically if they've filled in the evaluation of the Learn to Change learning journey.
Yeah.
And then the one in the middle and the one on the right, the champions and the completer. Yeah, you have to apply. So I can show you, I think. I can't. Okay, I'll stop sharing. But, otherwise, I'll zip around. But it's an interesting. I mean, I'm very happy to share, any part of this with yourself. So of course, and anyone else who's on the call. And very happy to discuss further as well. Yeah, but exciting to hear. I mean, I heard that this presentation was on through the HPAS team, in fact, interestingly. So so they're very aware of what you're up to, I think.
Yeah. Hey, this was good news. Very, very interesting, and I will study this more. Maybe there will rise some further questions, but all the good ideas and examples, they are worth of gold right now for me. So I really appreciate this, Fred.
Yeah, great. No, and it's exciting to see you and the Finnish Red Cross going that direction. I think it's great, and to hear the conversation here. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, the only badges that I have seen was made by German Red Cross, or some part of German Red Cross. I saw them in the wall when I joined a workshop. It was a project called Badges for Good. I was participating as a representative of Civis Study Center in Finland, and there I saw actually first time Red Cross badges, which were produced by German Red Cross, but I don't know if they are still going on with those or not. But interesting.
Great.
I'm not alone. We are not alone. With this.
Exactly.
I think you're not alone on the humanitarian sector. There are quite many organizations now working with badges. I can say that next spring, I can't remember exactly the date, and I don't know if Minna can remember. I think it was in April or March. There will be a presentation by Esther Grieder from HPAS. So if you are interested, it's a good. It would be a good opportunity to see what HPAS is doing and what kind of plan they have and so on.
Yeah.
And we have been discussing with Médecins Sans Frontières from Belgium. They are also interested in badges. The Belgian Red Cross is also planning badges, and there are Save the Children, of course, or many other organizations. As you know, in Finland there is Lasten Suojeluliitto and so on.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or ideas? I guess we covered all for now. So, well, thank you very much, Solli. That was very interesting to hear about your project, and you're doing a very good work.
Thank you. This was very useful for me. Thank you for giving the opportunity. This was really nice and interesting and exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And
thank you.
And I will share this recording later in a website. Sweet.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Fred.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.